Welcome to it, sports fans. A different ball game. It's today Wednesday. Good. It's Wednesday. It's good to know. Welcome to it. I am MKT, and I am not alone. Tonight we're discussing rugby. Of course, we've got Woude Muller back with us. Woude, what's happening?
Yeah, good. It is Wednesday. It's freezing in Cape Town, and I went back to the gym for the first time today. Not training myself in the gym, but working at my practice at the gym, and it was kind of weird. It felt like I never left. How sad is that?
Hey, people like to feel missed. So that's tough on you. That must be tough for the confidence.
Yeah, it was. It was weird.
But
But here we are. Yeah, here we are. And people weren't wearing masks in the gym. I don't know. It freaks me out a little bit. There's no COVID in Cape Town.
No, there's no COVID anywhere. I mean, if you looked at what's happening in Wuhan, look what is happening the American colleges just reopened, and some of the videos that are coming out of the house parties there. So back to normal. You know, it's going to happen. COVID so last month, right? we're on to the next thing now. It's what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Level 2, huh? All right. So back to it. And what's the sanitizing like? Are people like going through like those car wash shower sanitizer things?
No. There's only sanitizer things around the gym that you clean the equipment with and clean your hands. But they test your temperature when you walk in. And that's kind of it. Yeah.
We're South Africans. We're not like whatever. You know how South Africans are. The rules are useful to a point, but let's get on with this thing now. So, hey, South Africans, what you gonna do, huh?
But I did get a wine farm yesterday, so.
Back on the bottle, Woude. You gotta get back on the bottle. Good for you. Stressful times. Good for you.
It was
Good for you.
Nice.
People are back on the bottle. Good for you, Woude. Good for you. I am happy for you, man. I am happy for you. No judgment here. So back to the wine. Of course, South Africa. What is it like? SA Red, they were saying, is reopen the wines because we sell all over the world. So good for you, Woude, and good for everybody else. Hope your stress levels are reduced. Woude, hope you had a good time. Good to have you back. Looking forward, of course, to Woude picking her Springbok number 6. So really looking forward to that one. I think 3 legendary players up for contention that have won the World Cup. So looking forward to what you got to say there, Woude. See you in a little bit. Lovely. So we're going to start off with this. Catalonia, they do things differently there. Barcelona, of course, they got, in South Africa, we say Bayern Munich tonked them. That's a term you haven't heard in a while, unless you are like 90 and British. The word tonked is probably something you haven't heard in a while. So they got tonked, absolutely spanked. Did Barcelona by München, Mir San Mir, all right? Because that machine, the Mannschaft, the real Mannschaft, because this is the real team. Oh my God. Bayern Munich are unbelievable. They are flying. They are a mixture of that direct, powerful German game, of course, with the craft and the guile of Thiago Alcantara and Goretzka from deep. And then Alphonso Davies, get the hell out of town. I mean, the guy is 19. Oh, sickening. Pace, power, flair. How do you stop that? But my argument has always been this, is if there's one thing I don't like in my personal life, all right, and I can tell you because I suffered it, and I'm sure people do. So I'm all about quality. I'm all about quality, no quantity. And one thing I don't do, if you're insecure, I don't want you around me. Get the hell out of my face, right? If you are who you are, be who you are. If you are who you are, be who you are. So I don't want people around me who are insecure because I don't like it. Because insecure people tend to be manipulative people. I don't like feeling like I'm being manipulated, because you know what I have to do then is I have to manipulate you in order to get you back to what I want. I don't like that life. Stresses me out. I've got enough stress in my life. So what I like is people that are ambitious, driven, and are comfortable with who they are. If you're successful, if you're smart, be that. Don't try and be humble. There's no prizes for humility. If you're the best, say it and live it. I got no problem with that. Those are the type of friends I keep. If you're not like that, It's probably why I haven't given you a call in 10 years. That's it. That's who I am. I'm very comfortable now with who I am. When I was younger, had a few problems. I've got two really smart parents. I've got an unbelievably bright sister. So I had my insecurity things like, oh, I'm never going to be my dad. I'm never going to be my mom. I'm never going to be my sister. That kind of haunted me in my 20s. You know, I would have been joining Woude at the wine farm, drink it away. But now I am who I am. And I love it. I'm getting older. I'm 34 now. I'm settling into who I am. And I'm damn happy with who I am. And I have no problem telling you the things I've done because I'm very proud of it. And I do not apologize for it. And I will not apologize for it. I've traveled. I've done great things. I'm not sorry for that. I am okay with that. You don't have to like it. What's my point? Right? In the 80s, around 1988, a man came from Holland who was an unbelievable footballer. An absolutely so good, by the way. Football's been played, some argue, for over 1,000 years. Organized football, slightly less, a couple of 100 years. But this guy is so good. He is so good. There's literally a move in football called the Cruyff turn. This is how great this guy was. Of course, Dutch legend and Milan, Barcelona legend, just different. Right? It was Van Basten and then him at Barcelona. Van Basten was at AC Milan, but that great era. And this was the godfather of what we now know as total football. He was the godfather of the Ajax way as a player. Famous and so good. When he did the turn, you can go on YouTube at the very first time it was kind of seen in public, really, and on a big platform. It's called the Cruyff turn. The defender is at 6s and 7s. Now, you think he was great as a player? My God, he went on to go to Catalonia and reinvent football and reinvent probably the most famous form of entertainment, not probably, the most famous form of entertainment globally in the history of mankind. And that is football. You don't have to enjoy football for that to be true. It is the world's game, and nothing has come close. Not Hollywood, not cricket, not tennis. Nothing comes close to football. It is the world's game. He's so great, he has a move in the sport. That is impossible. Reinvented. Total football. He brought the Ajax way. 3-4-3, 4-3-3, and we now call it Tika-Taka. Who am I talking about? Johan Cruyff. My point is this. Barcelona, under him, knew who they were. They got an identity. They were the best, and they hated buying players. You got Dutch, you got Spanish. And when I say Spanish, I mean from Catalonia. La Masia, you come from there. We teach you how to play football properly. Over the last few years, they've lost their track. I believe one of the sons, one of the golden sons of the 90s, has come home. And everything will be right after an absolutely shambolic season. I'm going to go through why I think always go in-house, especially if you're great like Barcelona. Be who you are. Be who you are and be confident and stop apologizing and stop trying to be cool and show other people that you can be like them. No, you're the best. Be happy with that. Those are the types of people I want around me. I don't like insecure people. And Barcelona have shown over the last 6 years that they've become insecure. And it's ridiculous. So Ronald Koeman is back in town. So breaking news today. The great Ronald Koeman, by the way. Overused word, not for this guy. When we say the total defender, pace, power, technical ability, in the 90s, it's arguable that he might be, there's Maldini and there's this guy. An absolute titan. That famous Barcelona goal. You go on YouTube, Ronald Koeman goal. You know the one I'm talking about. He rips it from about 40 yards. An incredibly famous and brilliant Barcelona team. Of course, in that core later comes the De Boer brothers and the Dutch connection. But Ronald Koeman back in town, one of the kids from home. He is an original Catalan. So let me show you what I think has gone wrong for Barcelona, because what happened yesterday or last week was an absolute shambles. And here's where it went wrong. I want to show you all the management that has been with Barcelona since 1988. Listen, the Godfather, when he started, 4 La Liga titles, a Copa del Rey, and he won what was then a European Cup. All right, we're on to something. Right? That's success. Boom, we do it how we do it. The famous saying, we are more than a football club. Bobby Robson, English, brought us the original R9 Luis Nima Ronaldo in that incredible season at 19, where he was the top goal scorer in the league along with Alfonso. Incredible. Couldn't win. Didn't work. Had to go early. Jose Mourinho, by the way, assistant to Bobby Robson there and translator. That was the beginning of another legend. But didn't work. Bobby Robson from the outside, Newcastle. Great coach, international, beloved in football. But he's not Catalan. When did it work? Louis van Gaal comes in. What happens immediately? Immediate effect, by the way. Dutch, understands, comes from the same tree as the Godfather. 2 La Liga titles, Copa del Rey. Rijkaard, Dutch, La Liga titles, Champions League, and the super team. Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o, the rest is history. And then we really got the culmination, the height in the history of Barcelona and in the history of football. A man who was from the city, embodied the city, a club legend, by the way, as a player. Everything from the books that have been written about him, he was a manager while he played. He was the Catalan Roy Keane, for those of us that watch the Premier League. So I said it, I think on Monday, or last week Friday, this is a special club. They're more than just a club. Is when the city and the team are in unison, they're unstoppable. We've seen it twice. At the very beginning with Cruyff, but now it was taken to another level. The prodigal son came home. From the Barcelona B team, Pep Guardiola changed the face of football, tiki-taka. 3 La Liga titles, 2 Copa del Reys, and with Leo Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta, the greatest football team of all time. Now that was the height. Why don't you say this is what we are? And how do I know it worked? He left Tito Villanova, who, RIP, by the way, 1 season La Liga. And that was a tough thing to come up after Pep, but they still dominated. Another one from me in-house. And then they went off script again. Gerardo Martino, Newell's All Boys, of course, the connection there, Leo Messi. Didn't work, not from Catalunya. Stop bringing people from the outside to change who you are. Don't change. Prodigal son comes home, Luis Enrique. What happens there? 2 La Ligas, the treble, Copa del Rey, Champions League. Once again, bring it in-house. He feels the city feels him, the football club is alive. The script is there. I don't know what you're doing. Ernesto Valverde, in-house, 2 La Ligas, Copa del Rey. When didn't it work again? This last season where it was an absolute shambles. Stop apologizing for who you are. Listen, we live in South Africa. Paul Gim, people must stop apologizing for saying what they're saying. Paul Gim's not getting a black coach or an English coach anytime soon. Do you think they're going to apologize for that? Afis is not getting a black coach or an English coach soon. They don't apologize for who they are. Gray Bloom is not getting a black coach or an English coach anytime soon. We're Afrikaans, we've got resources, and we're real. Don't apologize for that. That's why they're kings. Gray Bloom doesn't apologize for what they are. You come here, you do it the Gray Bloom way. Barcelona have forgotten that. Stop looking to make people happy. Stop being insecure. Just because Real Madrid came along, Zinedine Zidane came along, they got insecure. They thought, Zidane and the Galactico model, let's go get Griezmann, let's go get Dembele. That's not the model. That's not the model. Any player that comes into Barcelona is a downgrade on what you've got in-house. And in life, sometimes you just have to believe that. Stop having people in your life that are just your friends just so you can have people around. That's what it feels like Barcelona are doing. Go in-house and stop apologizing for who you are. You are more than a football club. It was an absolute disaster from the beginning. The notion of Leo Messi leaving, by the way, cancel that right now. He is the football club. He is the Pep Guardiola right now. Build around him. And listen, keep the core. But as in life, as in football, stop apologizing for who you are. Barcelona are the greatest developers of anyone in football alive today. The Ajax teams of the 90s and the noughties are done. That development system, all right, it'll always be okay. It's all about Barcelona. Go in-house. Stop apologizing. Stop trying to be nice. Stop trying to be Real Madrid. Stop trying to be PSG. You're not that. You're the greatest. Your strength is when the city and club are in unison, you're unstoppable. It's ridiculous what's happened over the last 5 years. You've wasted 5 years of Leo Messi, and that's all your fault. Politics at the top, really messing it up. Barcelona, get it together. Ronald Koeman. It's going to work. It's going to work. The Ronald Koeman thing is going to work. When the city supports the club, it works. He is a golden boy. It is going to work. He's almost second fiddle. Pep Guardiola was second fiddle. It's all about the players in the city being here. It's going to work. So don't you worry. Ronald Koeman back in town. Barcelona back on track. Forget about Real Madrid domination. I see another, if not a treble, definitely a double next season. You can expect Leo Messi back on top, Ronald Koeman back on top. More than just a football club. All right, coming up, speaking of the best and being confident, my God, the Springboks are the only team in the professional era to win 3 World Cups. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, New Zealand. Because their first one was before Instagram, before even color TV was a thing, 1987. Vody's going to give us the greatest number 6s that have ever represented the Springboks in those winning efforts. Woude Muller coming up in the skip-off.
Yeah, so like Mbolela said, we are having a look at the open side flank today. So the 3 that we had in the respective World Cups, we had Francois Pienaar in 95, Skalkberger in 2007, and then Siya Kolisi in 2019. Now, for me, I think these are all 3 very, very iconic players in their own right. We know they were 2 very inspirational captains, and Skalkberg in his own right just kind of turned rugby around in his own way. But when I think of an open side flank, I think of Richie McCaw. I think, and it's for the people out there, that don't know, in South Africa, our open side flank is the number 6, which is in New Zealand and Australia, they use the number 7 as the open side flank. But we know that Richie McCaw was just absolutely the most complete open side flank that we've ever seen. And as Mbolela has said many times before, they had to change the rules to suit him. They had to change the rules because he was too good for what he was doing. He was so good that people had to question his legality of his play. He had the ability to reinvent the game, and he also had the ability to adapt to the new law interpretations. And he could also read the referee really well to see how far can he really push the ref until he's going to get penalized. And it takes a really intelligent player to be able to do that. And that's exactly what Richie McCaw is for me. Now, if we look at our 3 that we have, I think 95 and 2019 candidates, Francois and Siya, I don't think they would ever really be on the list of the best open side flankers if you have to think of an open side flank and what their role is in a team. And both of them could actually play 6 and 7. It didn't really change their game too much depending on where they played. I think we will all remember Francois. Well, we probably not necessarily remember him for his actual playing ability, but I think we would rather remember him as the guy who united South Africa through rugby in 1995. And yes, the incredible man next to him, Nelson Mandela, had a lot to do with it, but how he got his team together to play the way that they did in 95 and motivate them to do what they did, you will never be able to take that away from him. He was really the glue that kept that team, or that held that team together. Siya in 2019, I think, had a similar story to that whole situation, also brought not just a team together, but in that moment and in lifting that cup, bringing an entire nation together and everyone 100% behind him. I don't think he has really hit top form yet. He will definitely be our captain until 2023 World Cup. Hopefully he'll be able to up his game a bit. I wasn't super impressed with what he did, but he did what he needed to do. But he played a huge role as a team leader. So they were both very inspirational captains. But if you have to pick an open side flank purely on player performance, it has to be Skalk. You can't pick any of the other 2 over him when it comes to that. I think Skalk started playing rugby when he was for the Springboks, not rugby, when he started playing for the Springboks when he was 20 years old. He shrugged off a serious neck injury to be fit for the 2007 World Cup. And that even says even more about this kind of guy that we're dealing with. He was just this absolute raw kind of terror that we kind of had on the field. And then just to make things even worse, he also had to overcome a serious illness where he basically almost died from bacterial meningitis after he had an op. So this guy is he's insane. I don't think he was also not without his mistakes. He played a lot of his rugby at 7. He also had a lot of rugby at 8. So he was kind of also all over the place. He wasn't just that typical 6 or 7 open side flank that New Zealand use. They use a specialized fetcher. And that's what we call it in the rugby terms, which we don't necessarily had in any of these 3. We also will remember Skalk for kind of just flinging his body around the field, giving away a lot of penalties, and in 2007 getting a red card, and it was banned for 4 games, but it got taken down to 2 games. He also missed that very crucial tackle in the Fiji game in the quarterfinal, and they scored a try, and it was 20-all in that quarterfinal. So he was just a ruthless player. He made, I think, because he flung his body around so much on the field, it meant he missed some tackles and he missed some play, and he was kind of just all over the place. Where someone like Richie McCaw, and I'm going to refer back to him again because, like I said, he's my epitome of open side flankers. He was a bit more calculated with what he was going to do. Skalk just kind of did everything. He didn't really think about what he was going to do. He just went into every single rack and kind of tried to bash the players up for me. But I think Richie was a bit more, like I said, calculated. He thought about the things. He would rather not go into a certain rack, maybe think about rather going to the next one where he could really have the biggest impact. So if I have to think about, Muller, maybe you can give me first something to say about that before I say who I really think was the best open side flank in South Africa. Because I know you love Skalk.
Yeah, I do love Skalk. I think Francois Pienaar must get his credit for being the very first World Player of the Year as well. So it wasn't just Skalk who got that award. Pienaar, of course, I think 94 World Player of the Year as it became. So captain of the very first Super 10 team as well that went on to be South Africa's first team to lift that famous trophy for South Africa. So Francois Pienaar probably more in the John Smith mold than a Richie McCaw, you know, not the best player, but obviously the glue in a team. So, but I'm a Skalk guy all the way. But it'd be interesting to see who you think.
So for me, I would say Heinrich Brosseau. And the reason why I picked him, remember what is it, 2009 Tri-Nations? He played all those, was it Tri-Nations or was it the test matches against the All Blacks? I've never seen the All Blacks struggle so much against the Springboks side and than those 3 test matches that he played. And I think that was the first time that the All Blacks were really confronted with a genuine open side flank in South Africa. I think before they could kind of get away with a lot of it. We also remember Corné Krige played in poor corner. There's no way he could get to the rack first and get to the ball first when you've got George Smith and Richie McCaw playing in that area. There's
and
no
Phil
way.
Ward as well.
Yeah. So Heinrich Brosseau actually really made a menace of himself at the breakdowns. He was a terror at the breakdown. He slowed down the ball and he really, I think, disrupted the ball, and especially in the All Blacks side, because the way that you're going to beat an All Blacks team is if you're going to slow the ball down at the rack and you disrupt their way of playing, because they're so used to playing that very fast kind of fast-paced game. So the way to disrupt that, slow down at the rack and you slow down their potency. And that's what Heinrich Brosseau was able to do. I think also against the British and Irish Lions in 2009, he actually was very much part of winning that first test. Scott got injured and he couldn't play, and Heinrich Brosseau had to play, and he was very much a reason why they won. And Heinrich was also man of the match again in these All Blacks test matches. I think especially the match in Bloemfontein that they played against the All Blacks. So he only played 23 test matches for the Springboks, which is not a lot at all. If he had to play for the All Blacks or for the Aussies, he probably would have played way more than 50 tests because he suits that mold. But I think he's been very underappreciated in South Africa. He played to the ball. They read the game really well. He knew what he needed to do and when to do it and when it will have the most impact. He didn't just kind of, like Skalk, just go in and be absolutely crazy. Look, Skalk had to be ridiculously fit for the fact that he could do what he was doing. But I think Heinrich Brousseau, from a specific open side flank point of view, he was the best one in South Africa scene. And maybe the question should then rather be, do we in South Africa not need to play with an open side flank? And that's why we underappreciate an open side flank in South Africa.
But my question then becomes, are you saying Heinrich Brousseau's... Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, so we are rather looking for height in our lineouts than necessarily that guy that we're in. Because let's be honest, our best fetcher in South Africa in the moment is Malcolm Marx. Not one of our loosies are fetchers. So this is why I'm saying, are we in South Africa moving away from having to use an open side flank because that's just not part of our game plan and we don't need them. And that's why we don't see the value that they add the way that New Zealand or Australia would.
Yeah, I think an interesting thing that you're saying there is what you'd be suggesting is that Heinrich Brousseau is better than Luke Watson, which was an interesting conversation you had with Sihle. I think you're gonna go a long way to try and find people to say Luke Watson, who is, because many people believe Luke Watson was better than Richie McCaw, and for 2 seasons he was statistically even. So in a mediocre Stormers team, very mediocre Stormers team.
I didn't want to bring up the Luke Watson name, so that's why I didn't bring it up, and that's why I picked Heinrich Brousseau.
I see.
But yeah, so that was actually the only reason why. But yes, I agree with you. Luke Watson is amazing.
Sorry. Hey, probably one of my favorite Springbok moments of all time was when Heinrich Brousseau picked up Martin Williams like a bag of potatoes and chucked him around. I love that. Listen, hey, Bornwell meat was cheap. Guy went to Grey Bloom. No problem. Listen, I got no problem with him. I wouldn't, his problem is that he really was born in a time when, unfortunately, I got to see Richie McCaw and Phil Waugh, who was the second best option. My God. And I'd probably still take Pocock over him in terms of the greatness. I can't give him the box 6 jersey, but I don't know. Maybe I'm obsessed with playing the South African way. It's like, give me a defensive lineout option.
That's exactly what it is. And that's what I wanted you to say and get out of you, because I think most South Africans are obsessed with that. I like the typical fetcher kind of way of playing where you have to be a bit more calm. You actually, in that position, you actually have to be a little bit more intelligent to really know how to have the biggest impact on the game. And I don't think in South Africa we want to use that. So that's what it comes down. Like I said, we're looking for height in our lineouts. We're looking for the big guys at the back. We're not looking for those. That's why CJ Stunder probably also didn't make it in South Africa. And he has been playing really well for Ireland. But it just doesn't suit our way of playing.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
so
unfortunate.
I think you're making a great point there. Yeah.
And I would wonder, how would South African rugby change, especially now that we want to speed up the game a little bit. We want to do that. Would we want a fetcher now, or would we kind of just stick rather with the big guys? And yeah.
And it's an interesting one, because I guess this is why we never pick an enterprising number 10, right? Is in SA rugby, the ball still doesn't go past number 12. I mean, if you look at Damian Willemse's, your big mate, Willemse, not Willemse, Dearlande, excuse me. Damian Dearlande, he was a distributing 12 at early on in his career. We've transformed him just because he is big into your crash ball guy. So maybe the thing is, we don't need that, because we don't value a 10 who's going to distribute the ball. The ball's always in between the numbers 1 to 12 anyway. So our 7 is, listen, I don't care. Even if the Springboks are bad, it is hell to get the ball back off us. Even when we were getting beaten by 50s, that was just because every time everyone else had the ball, they scored. But it wasn't like we were conceding massive turnovers, right? Our guys are nasty. And I think, was it James Dalton the first time who said, listen, you'll tackle us the first time and you'll be at the ruck the first time. But the fourth time, Peter Steph the Toy and now these other Afrikaans boys are hitting you in the neck. It's not so comfortable. So when we do it our way, maybe that physical dominance is, we take the, and okay, I guess you're saying you would, so you're saying you'd like to see a genuine open sider. You think it would add something to the Bok game? I think it would. I think it would really, I think it would,
we've got such amazing talent in this country, and we've got also this incredible backline, especially now. We've got quick guys in the background who can move the ball and who can really create magic from there. So what if we got a quicker turnover? What if we had that fetcher who can get the ball out and can get it to that backline? What if we had the guy to stop the opposition from moving in so quickly? Because that's also his role, is to get up to that 10 and really put pressure on that 10. So now if we have someone like Richie Mo'unga, with, yes, we keep talking about him and the amazing things that he does with ball in hand, the players with us now can't get up to him and stop him from distributing that ball the way that he does. So what if we had a guy like that could stop that and slow down that ball?
And so then my question, and that's a great point, but then my question becomes, we're so privileged in South Africa. We've had our good friend James Dalton, and then we went straight from him to, we had Komstalderat, and that was a little bit awkward for 4 or 5 years. But then we had Bismarck, and now we've got Marks. So our athletes are, if you look at the South African model, actually our number 2 has always been our fetcher, So maybe we're really gifted at having all of those guys, and we don't need a loose forward. What say you to that?
When you have someone like Marks, his role is supposed to be to throw the ball into the lineout and get it straight into the lines, and you can't do that. So if you can't do your basic role of what you are there for, what is the point of being good in something else? And you can't do your basic role. Do your basic role first, and then be good at the other things. If you can't throw a ball straight into the lineout, but you can get a ball out of a rack, why are you playing 2?
No, hey, these are all interesting points, I think. And we'll see next year, will we? Because I think where Heinrich Brosseau was probably perfect in that series is, I think, was it Skalk Brits, who was another one, by the way. There's another guy who's basically a fetcher. Just, we're so gifted in this country. These, I've always said, whilst we got Zulu guys, Afrikaans guys, and Venda guys, we're going to be all right in the loose forwards and the fatties up front. I mean, these guys are just tanks. But Skalk Brits raised a great point, is, the Northern Hemisphere sides play test rugby. And, Heinrich Brosseau, in that setup, like you were saying, in the tight, he was in there, man, and they just could not stop him in that game. So I think you've raised a great point. I'd love to know what people think. So for you, you've gone with, of the 3, is it Sia?
Well, I've gone with Skalk. So basically my back row is Skalk. Yeah, I've gone with Skalk. So Skalk, and I've gone with Jean Smith and Dwayne Vermeulen. So that's my back row. And see, good
luck stopping that.
Pretty potent back row. You don't have the one person that can really go in there, because we know Dwayne and Jean, both massive guys, but you have that extra liner jumper in Jean, you've got that strong ball carrier at the back, and then you've got the absolute crazy person running around with his white hair, blonde hair, all over the place.
Skalk Burger, huh? Yeah, look, Woude, I think you're making great points. But geez, good luck stopping that. So it's what? Skalk at 6, Juan Smith at 7, and then Dwayne Vermeulen. Oh my goodness!
At 8.
Imagine having to tackle those 3. Oh my goodness, that is. Imagine, seriously, imagine having to tackle that for 60 minutes.
No. I would not want to be playing against them, I can tell you that much.
Absolutely brutal. Woude, I love that, man. I absolutely love that. So, Dave, listen, should we take some questions? Woude, that's great stuff, hey, from the Skip Pass. Woude, we will, the Skip Pass is back again on Monday, huh?
Yes, on Monday.
I think. Yeah. All right, but so we're getting to the real fatties now, because all 3 of those guys are units. I mean, my God. So we are now getting towards, of course, the business end. Now it's the fatties, the tight 5.
The fatties, the tight 5, the 2 locks, and then the front row, which will be a really interesting one. Ooh. So I need I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I really don't know who to pick. So if anyone's got advice for me out there, please let me know.
All right. Well, I mean, we might as well take some questions. Hey, Dave, should we go to a break quickly, and then we'll come back to some questions? But Woude, that is a brutal loose trio, by the way. Absolutely brutal. I think we should come back in a minute or so, Dave, and we will then take some questions. All righty then. We might as well get into the Q&A. Remember, I'm joined by Woude Muller today, so if you do have a few questions, you can direct both or those to both of us. Dave, let's get going. What we got? Question number 1. Lulama Chewbacca. Lulama Kabaga says, you got to have Beast and Os up front. This country, and I don't know, what the weather. I mean, there's another guy. You forget about Osturant. I can't wait till we get to the fatties and see what's going on there. We've been so. Listen, I'm not worried about our forwards ever. We're going to have the best and biggest forwards. I mean, look at it. Like, it's also just not an opinion, right? Look at the European rugby. Think of the third string guys that go there. I mean, you look at Brian Mujati, right? He left here and we were like, oh no. He went on to go and play at Wasps, and they were calling him the best prop in the world at a stage. Brian Mujati was 5 props back in South Africa.
Again, like I said, even CJ Stander that had to leave because there's no space for him here. And he's not a bad, I know you don't like it, but he's not a bad player. No, and in the Irish side, he's actually been playing quite well for them.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like saying, that's really like Idris Elba coming to me and saying he's good looking compared to me. It's like, of course he's going to, that makes sense. This is the mess. He's playing for Ireland and CJ Stander. Listen, I'm out on CJ Stander. I mean, I think we've got guys at Grey Bloom better than CJ Stander right now, to be honest with you.
Gosh.
Nah, do me a favor, CJ Stander.
Oh my gosh.
Pimo says, Caleb Clark is impressive, but you have Reese, Sevi Reese, who I think is the truth. So, Woude, I'll take that one first. And then I know what you think of Caleb Clark. I'll let you have the last word on this one. I'm not in on Caleb Clark. Number 1, my thing is this. I do not like wingers who cannot kick. And Caleb Clark, for all that he can do, that is all he can do. Is I'm big and I can ball carry and I can offload. Saw that with people like Sonny Bill Williams, where when that stuff didn't work, and Caleb Clark isn't a test winger until he can kick. See, that's where George Bridge, outstanding. And for all of my sort of Brian Habana, I don't love him, but Brian Habana was a world-class wing because he could do everything at a stage, right? Other than run outside, but okay, fine. But he had a kicking game. He could take the high ball. I'd like to see Caleb Clark under the high ball, and he can't kick. I can't work with that. George Bridge, you think of all the great outside backs, Jeff Wilson, who I believe is the greatest winger of all time. You have to be able to kick, especially now in this back three world that we live in. I'm out on Caleb Clark. Sevu Reese, he's the best in the world. My only thing about Sevu Reese is I don't want to be a hypocrite, because in every other sport I call out people on character. If I'm the All Blacks, I worry about him because we know he's had some stuff off the field. I don't think we need to talk about what those issues were, but they were domestic and they were serious. So whenever there's character issues, I'm skeptical. But as a rugby player, my God, I believe he's the best winger in the world and nobody is close. But Woude, I know you love Caleb Clark. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I do like Caleb Clark. Remember, he's 21 years old. This is his first season as playing 15 men's rugby and playing professional rugby in that whole situation. He played sevens before, which is obviously also very different to what you need a player to do. So we can't judge him on his first, well, you can't say that he's a refined player because he's not. But I think he's got so much talent and so much, there's so much to him and possibility to him. And you can still start refining that. So you can't say you're completely out on a guy who's really performed very well. And he showed us a lot that he can already do, but he will still develop as a rugby player. And the more he's going to play, the more he's going to refine that. So we don't know if he's a good kicker or not because he hasn't really had to do any of that. So maybe as he starts developing the way that he plays, he will become that. I like the fact that he's a big wing. I like the fact that he's a physical player. I like the fact that he played sevens because I think the way that you see a game and the way that you find gaps and the way that you run, much better. And I think more players should play a season of sevens because I just think it teaches you a completely different way of seeing the opposition and seeing the field. So I really think we need to give him that opportunity to still develop as a player. But as a 21-year-old and playing his first season, he's really impressed me. And what he's done, he's got great character. You were talking about character now. He's already, as a 21-year-old, showed his maturity in handling certain situations and how we put that through and how professional he can be. So there's a lot of positive things for me.
Oh, cool. Great points. I'd love to know what people think. Those are some great points, Fody. Lefika Morobe says, I disagree with Klopp is winding down MKT, but having said that, what are your thoughts about him looking to his under 23s and what building youth with the likes of Elliott and Vandenberg? So I'll tell you why I said he's winding down. So if you missed it, we had of course a Man United fan in last night in Senzo Sutebe. And we were talking about United's window in order to come back and compete in the league. Now, I've said this a couple of times, is if you look at the Premier League's great teams, and people seem to think this is a great Liverpool team, is there's only been a three-peat, which is to win the league, obviously 3 times in a row, twice. That was Fergie's great teams. Every other great legendary team, the greatest team statistically that's ever played is Pep's team. 2 seasons, you're out. Mourinho's team with the greatest defense conceded 15 in a season. 2 seasons, you're out. All I'm saying, and why I think the Klopp cycle has come to an end, is I'm so biased to statistics. I believe 2 seasons ago was a championship season for Liverpool. It's just that the greatest season of all time happened. Right? Everybody thinks winning's going to happen forever. That's not how it works in sport. Everybody thinks these dynasties last forever. They are so corrosive. They are so corrosive. Look at all the great ones. Pep, how long at Barcelona? 2 years. 2 great years. Not 3 in a row. Even the great Real Madrid team, that was only 1 league title. The league grinds you. Winning grinds you. When you got to hold people to account, that's not a sort of homeostasis environment. That is a grind. Right? What they might call, it's a catabolic environment, it's an extremely volatile environment, and that's not long lasting. That fuel burns quickly. So I believe 2 seasons ago when Liverpool came second, they actually had a championship season. Last year wasn't as good as that season, but everybody else fell off because Pep's cycle of 2 seasons in a row had come to an end and everybody else was too far behind. So really Liverpool have had their 2 cycles, their 2-year cycle. Go and look at the history of the Premier League. Two great seasons, the cycle's over. And unless Liverpool really go and refresh, and I mean 3 or 4, I believe the cycle's over. I don't care how good the coach is. The science tells me 2 seasons and you're out. And I think Liverpool have had that. And I think Jurgen Klopp is already starting to say things about, I'd like a break, because, man, he is heavy metal. As for going with the youngsters, I'm afraid it takes a bit longer for me than just one new coach coming in and we're all in a good mood. Nothing about Liverpool since the 90s has said their academy is anything to be taken seriously. Who's the last great Liverpool kid that you've seen? Forget just qualifying for Liverpool. Who's the last great Liverpool kid to play in the Premier League? If anything, the guys are Chelsea right now, right? Look at the league. It's littered with Chelsea players. It's littered with Southampton players. Those are the 2 best academies in the league over the last decade. So to me, for Liverpool, I don't think that's an option at the moment because Chelsea have invested over the last 15 years, and you're starting to see the rewards. They win the Youth Champions League every season. They win the Youth FA Cup every season. They win the Youth League. They won it again this season. Like, what is it, 4 seasons in a row? So with Liverpool, I don't think there's a pool there yet. There's no evidence. With Chelsea, with Southampton, I see the league is littered with products from that. I mean, Chalobah, you go across the league, Chelsea's great youth teams. Southampton, they basically are Liverpool's B team, right? And then across the league, you look at Luke Shaw, you look at Gareth Bale, you look at these people that have come from that, what I believe is the greatest academy in England, which is Southampton. Theo Walcott. I mean, I could go on and on. And so no, Liverpool not an option. I don't think it's an option. And Jurgen Klopp has shown me one thing: he's not a long-term guy. So it doesn't actually matter if he brings in the youngsters because he's unique. Nobody does it like Jurgen Klopp. For them to succeed, they'd have to play under Jurgen Klopp. That's my answer there. Dave, what's next? Ndumiso Masango says, who do you get to back up, compete up front with Martial? That's the 70 million pound question, because we had Senzo Sotebo on yesterday. He made some great points and he says, look, Martial's 24. We should give him time. He's maybe still developing, but by United standards, I've seen what Cristiano Ronaldo was at 23. So I've kind of seen what the standards were there. And I'm a little worried that Martial needed to be motivated. You see, for me, the guys at the top, if you're the guy, Zlatan Ibrahimovic doesn't need to be motivated. He's motivating everybody else. And in football, the toughest thing to do is to put the ball in the net. I don't want my strikers and what I need my best players to be motivated. They should be doing the motivating. So that's my problem with Martial. Once again, it's more of a character thing than a talent thing. The guys that are your dogs, them boy dogs, that fire needs to be inside. It shouldn't have to be lit. And that's my concern with Martial, that at Manchester United, and in all sports, you hear the great coaches, is what you want is for your best players to be your hardest workers and not have to be motivated. So it needs to be Cristiano Ronaldo. It needs to be Leo Messi, right? It needs to be Frank Lampard. It needs to be the guys that you're pulling off the training field. And Martial, we haven't heard anything of that coming out. And all the reports are saying Oli had to light a fire under him. So I think, to be honest, they do need a striker. And people are saying Harry Kane. But if I'm honest, I don't know if Harry Kane's an upgrade. I'm sorry. I know people think he is. I don't think he's an upgrade. Once again, when he had his chance, cometh the hour, cometh the man, Jamie Vardy was better than him. I might say go for Jamie Vardy. Get a killer, get a finisher. Right? You got enough pretty players who want to put their foot on the ball. Just get a killer, a bona fide killer. And Jamie Vardy's got 2 great seasons in him. He doesn't do a lot of mucking about. He's now, he used to run around like a madman, but now plays on the last shoulder, and you let Jamie Vardy be one-on-one with your keeper. It's murder she, as they say, murder she wrote. Because once he's one-on-one, it's that thing. I mean, the guy's been top 3 every season at Leicester. Are you kidding me? So people say Harry Kane. I think that's probably the guy to go for. Any lower than that, you're wasting time, because Martial needs to be motivated. And for me, he's not a Manchester United number 9 if they want to get back to the promised land. David, what do you have next? Ganik Funde says, "Hi Suga, Geordie was only better than Will Jordan at kicking for pole." So, Vodi, I'll let you have the last word on this one, because I know your feelings on Will Jordan. So for me, once again, there's still too many holes in Will Jordan's game for the test level. But my God, with ball in hand, he is an electrification machine. But Geordie Barrett's the best fullback in maybe in world rugby. I'm willing to even go that far, but definitely in All Black rugby, the best genuine fullback. So for me, Geordie Barrett does everything Will Jordan can do. He's maybe not as flashy. And I get the kicking out of hand, by the way, the tactical kicking out of hand, and I get a long-range goal kicker. So, but I don't know. Vodi, I'd leave that one to you.
No, I actually agree with you on that one. So I really like Will Jordan. I like the way he played. His stats are absolutely incredible with ball in hand. But if you think about your role as a 15, what do you want from your fullback? You want someone who's solid under the high ball. You want someone who can kick out of hand. You want someone who distributes, and you want, most of them do want someone that can also kick for poles. Do you think of Percy Montgomery, what he did for South African rugby at 15? So Will Jordan, he was good under the high ball. I would trust him to contest for a ball in the air. Kicking, he hasn't really kicked a lot. He doesn't even do a lot of kicking out of hand. Again, he's a very young player. He hasn't played a lot of rugby at that level, where Geordie Barrett has been involved in way more professional rugby than he was. So again, we can probably give him the opportunity to develop. But if I have to pick between the two of them for my All Black side, it will have to be Jordie Barrett. He's more solid. I think he's better at the back, and he could get those long range kicks. Yeah. If you already have Richie Mo'unga, who's very dangerous with ball in hand anyway. So do you need two of them, or do you rather need someone who can have a longer range kick ball out of hand and penalties and conversions?
So, Woude, you've brought up a really interesting dilemma there, which I've just thought about now as we're talking, is what do you do at 15 for the All Blacks? I mean, I'm sure we'll come to talk about our All Black team, but really you've got that Barrett, Jordie, but then you got another guy, his name's Bowden, who's not too bad, but that's not the only dilemma. You have another guy, by the way, who plays with the Chiefs, who most teams in the world wouldn't turn down. His name's Damian McKenzie. And then you've got Will Jordan. Damian McKenzie. So where would you go? Are we saying Damian McKenzie is what? Second, third option? Fourth option?
But luckily we can take Bowden Barrett out of the equation for next year. So I don't think the All Blacks have to worry too much about that because he's going to be playing in Japan. So luckily that's one part and that is a very, very complicated part because the All Blacks really love Bowden Barrett and they want him to play, but there's actually no space for him in the team anymore. So I think it's good of them to kind of allow him to go to Japan to just take a little bit of pressure off them to not make that decision for next year. It will be interesting also with the North-South competition coming up on the 29th of August, actually, with both Bowden playing 10 for the one team and Richie playing 10 for the other team. So that will be a very interesting matchup. And I'm looking forward to that. But for me now, I think Jordie's my first option. From what I have seen of Super Rugby, and I'm not talking about experience, I'm talking about Super Rugby, it will have to be Will Jordan and then D-Mac. Yes, D-Mac's stats are much better, but I think he made a lot of mistakes that you wouldn't expect a player of his caliber to make, and that concerned me. Yeah, you can blame the people around him. Yeah, you can say that he didn't play in a good team and whatever. But he made mistakes and he missed tackles and he did things that I don't want from his caliber, and I don't expect that from him. So purely from Super Rugby, from Aotearoa, from what we see now, Jordie, Will Jordan, and then D-Mac.
Listen, Dogozama Josie is, I didn't want to bring it up, but listen, I'm all about the listeners. Untogozo, Dama Josie has said, McKenzie can just play 10.
Can't pick him over Richie Mo'unga, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Play him at 10. Honestly, I believe he's the best fly half in New Zealand rugby. And I love Richie Mo'unga, by the way.
No.
Hey, you know what I think of Richie Mo'unga. But when was the last play? Do you know what? I'm so happy for Damian McKenzie because, as we know, no one's that electrifying without being Maori. I cannot wait to see him play 10 because for the All Black, the Maori All Blacks, he plays 10 and it is an electrification show. So, thank you. I don't know. Thank you. Somebody, you know what? Ntokozo Majosi is a Xhosa name. The man clearly has Xhosa blood in him, and we just get it as a tribe. We get it. So Ntokozo, bloody damn right. Play McKenzie at 10. What do you think, Woude?
No, not sold.
I've said it.
Let's move on.
Listen, I've said it, by the way. I don't want I don't want anybody saying it's in hindsight when Mo'unga gets injured.
Play there. Yeah, but then
are you going
to pick him on the bench?
So if I was the All Black, so number one, if I was the Chief selectors, I would play him at fly half. So not fullback because he's not a fullback. But if I was the All Black selectors, he's my backup 10, by the way, not Bowden Barrett. Bowden Barrett's my utility guy. Thank you. But I've said it now. I don't want anyone saying... You
can't start him over Richie Mo'unga. You can't have him as
no, because he hasn't played there. No, because he hasn't played there. But I'm saying it. I'm saying it now. I don't want anybody saying, "Oh, you." In hindsight, in 2 years when he does get his chance, he's the best fly half in New Zealand rugby. So, and Dogozo says, "I'm actually Zulu. I take all those compliments back." Dave, what you got next? The Rig says, do you think Francois, that's Francois Pina, was so excited to lift the cup because he thought there were lays inside? If you are not a rugby fan or South African or old. So Woude and I are old, over the age. We've seen more than 3 decades on this earth. And by the way, I'm older than Jesus Christ now at 34. So that reference makes sense because Francois Pienaar, of course, became the Lay's guy, Lay's the chips. So I mean, how do you even answer that question? We got the best watchers and listeners. Thought they were Lay's in there. Incredible. Lulu says, I know your stance on the greatest of all time is Tiger, but where does Usain Bolt rank in the scheme of things, and why isn't he the greatest? So Usain Bolt, you got to say he is absolutely great. I totally agree with that, and I think the Usain Bolt thing is an argument because he's the best at 2 things, by the way. 100 meter and 200 meters are completely different types of races. I know a lot of people think, they're both just sprint, get fit and do both of them. So I do like Usain Bolt for the argument. But what I've always argued for is what are the resources in the sport you're involved in? Because generally that attracts the best talent from everywhere. And the resources in golf are real. And we've had champions from places like Fiji, right, to South Africa. So I also like it when it's been spread a little bit. Athletics tends to be sort of Jamaican and American centric. What it tells me is you kind of need to be from certain places and resources will be funneled towards you. Usain Bolt gets sort of docked points for getting to start ahead. But listen, I love Usain Bolt, and to win 12 years in a row, not lose a 100-meter Olympic race, that's wild. He's definitely in the top 10 for me. But Tiger Woods, listen, maybe I should explain it to you this way. Tiger Woods, number one, came into a sport where people that look like him were not welcomed. So there's already a huge wall for Tiger Woods from being a child in a time when things were difficult. As Tiger Woods started playing golf 25 years ago. And then he came into the scene, and I know Bolt is great. Bolt doesn't change the viewing numbers. Quite frankly, golf is really a sport for PC doesn't work for me, for old white men. Tiger Woods moves the needle. He brought teenagers to golf. Now, if you're not a sports freak like me, most people find golf a snooze fest. Tiger Woods moves the numbers by 300%. Now, that's the people voting, right? Is that there's no metric when you move people like that. Tiger Woods is a force of nature that moves the numbers by 300%. Usain Bolt just doesn't do that. He doesn't change athletics numbers by 300%. You're not going to say people love Usain Bolt more than they love Michael Johnson, right? And that is unanimous. Is Tiger Woods? I mean, look at what happens on a golf course. He takes the most civilized fans in the world and they turn into raving lunatics. He moves people because we've never seen a force like Tiger Woods. And quite frankly, here's the next thing. Is Tiger Woods for 10 years, not my opinion, statistically, you go and look at the world rankings over 10 years, 1999 to 2009, well, 2007, but you can go from 1999, which is about 9 years on the clock. He was twice as good as the next person in his sport. Nobody's ever done that. And that's statistically, that's the rankings. That's winning points. That's not opinion. That's not conjecture. Tiger Woods' ranking points were twice as good as the next guy. You can't tell me Usain Bolt's twice as good as any runner that's ever lived. He's not twice as good as Michael Johnson, right? That's how much Tiger separated himself from the field. Nobody's ever done that. And I love Lindsey Vonn. She's never been twice as good as the field. So I'm afraid Usain Bolt, top 10 though. My God, what a guy. JR Senior says, what I like about Bolt's wiki page is it doesn't have a few paragraphs labeled controversy. It's just titles. Yeah, I'll give you that. Listen, Tiger Woods. Look, Tiger's one's not too bad though. It's not like for me, I have a problem if it's domestic violence. It's just people's moral dilemmas. I'm not a moralist. Number one, right, is I'm dogmatic at the line of, excuse me, please understand it's revolting if you lift a hand to women. Like, that's absolutely revolting. For me, and that's where my Severus argument came in. His thing was domestic. Tiger Woods' issue was, for goodness sake, he slept with other women. Like, it's 2020. Get over yourself. I'm not a moralist in that sense. That's just, oh no, he broke a Christo-Judean code of don't sleep with other women. Get over yourself. People sleep around all the time. It happens all the time. Like, get over it. That shouldn't be controversial. That's what I feel. It's not like he didn't abuse anybody. He didn't break tax laws. It was just, he's got a thing for other women. What you gonna do? Women get boring. Well, it's Tiger Woods. The Rig says, Woude, what's the main difference that you need between a good open side or a closed side flank? This is unbelievable. These are real questions. So yes, Woude, a closed side flank as opposed to an open side flank.
In the rugby world, we call it a blind side flank, not a closed side flank. But
unbelievable.
So basically, if you have to look at it at a scrum, your open side flank would scrum further away from the touchline, so you would have more of the field available. And the blind side flank would be on the other side, more kind of in the fringes and less space for him to move. But then you also look at about their physicality is that you would kind of think that a number 6 or open side flank would be the smaller, faster guy. That's the guy that can get to the breakdowns first. So he can protect the ball carrier and to help get forward momentum, and then also protect the ball. And then the opens or the blind side flank would be kind of more of a bigger guy, like I said, another line out option. So he would be the more physical person. I think in layman's terms, that's the easiest way to explain it, Umbulelo. In South Africa, we don't really have that. We don't have that typical smaller guy, bigger guy. That's kind of, if you have to, obviously it's changed throughout the years and as rugby has modernized, but if you have to really explain it, the difference between them, I guess that would be the easiest difference.
Well, I think the real layman term is he would be a breaker. Your blindside flank is a breaker.
Yeah. Like I said, it is Peter Steph the toy, a bigger physical guy that would kill you in a tackle. Whereas, like I mentioned, Heinrich Rousseau would be more on the ball, get to the ball first, protect the ball, and speed up that momentum in the breakdowns. And defensively, it's also a bit different. Your 6, who's a faster guy, would defend the number 10. Your 7, who's a bit of the slower guy, would actually go to the 9 or the 8 and defend them to make the tackles. So
there you have it. The Zulu downgraded and just to be clear, no longer complimented in Ntokozo Majozi says, come to think about it, the flank position really isn't a high impact position within the South African game. It's just another layer of physicality. Your thoughts, Woude?
I don't really need to add to that. We've said that before. We don't have that.
Brilliant statement.
Yeah, and that's I guess the best way that someone has explained it. And the way that it works in South Africa. Like I said, we don't use our flankers to be fetchers. We use them to just add some more bulk and some more size to the back of the scrum.
Hey, for a Zulu guy, great comment there. Ntokozo.
You got your compliment. You got your compliment back.
No, well, I mean, great by Zulu standards. No, not like great by Xhosa standards. But insizwa yase Tegwini. Lulama Qabaga says, I would love to hear your starting 15 chosen from every SA World Cup winning team and who is the skipper of that squad. Well, stay with us.
Yeah.
Stay with us over the next sort of 2 Wednesdays and we will reveal the entire team. Hey, Woude, am I correct in saying that? I say we, yeah, Woude will reveal.
Yeah, so Lulama, we have chosen all the way from 15 to number 6 already. So we have chosen that. We've just got our tight 5 left. So within the next 2 weeks, we'll do that. And then you'll have my entire team. I will also post it on our social media. So you can have the entire team and also comment on that. And I will choose my captain. Ugh. Do I have
Damn
to?
Right. That's gonna get tongues wagging. Lulu says, Lulu, it's an unbelievable name. What do Dutch players have to do with Catalan? Am I missing something here? Great question. The great Johan Cruyff is Dutch. So the total football started in what they call the Ajax way. I don't really want to get into this. And in fact, I had a meeting today with hold thumbs if you're at home, because we may get an Ajax legend on here to really explain this for us. But the Ajax way. So to break it down for you is what they believe is that we catch you in the golden years. So the golden years are between 4 and 7 years old. At Ajax Academy, Ajax in not Cape Town, but in Holland, they say 4 and 7 years. Those are the golden years. They catch you then. They teach you the way to play football. But what they also teach you is the way to play total football. Today, we see people knocking it out from the back in English football. We think, wow, that's amazing. The Dutch have been doing it since the 70s. They introduced things in the modern game, things like the libero, which is your center back who steps into midfield and becomes like made famous by the great Kaiser Franz Beckenbauer. Right, you think of Maldini in his time. You think of Rio Ferdinand if you're English. He steps more into the libero role. You see Fernandinho playing as Pep often uses it, of course. But the Dutch connection is that the core of what La Masia is now was started by a Dutchman who is, of course, as we saw, the Godfather. His name is famously, of course, Johan Cruyff. And he brought that model over to Barcelona. So that there is always a Dutch connection. So if you look throughout the history of Barcelona, Patrick Kluivert, Michael Reiziger, the De Boer brothers, Ronald Koeman, Edgar Davids. There's been so many Dutch players because they are schooled exactly how they are schooled at La Masia, because the two projects are related. Ajax was the birth, and of course La Masia, the perfection. So that is the connection there. What is next, David? Yulama Kubaka saying, our boykies are built from braais, biltong, tequila, and billies. They are always going to be more physical. What the South African saying is, born while meat was cheap. You know what's great about South Africa is we just have oaks. Like, if you're not South African, there's no translation for that word. We've got oaks. Like, don't worry about it. 6'6", 125 kilograms, stock standard from Kroonstad. We got it, the conveyor belt from Bloemfontein. Conveyor belt. Oaks grow up on the farm, barefoot in winter, freezing, and Frikkie has to go and fetch the cows, no shoes, just a t-shirt. Bloemfontein's minus 10 degrees. These guys, and then you've got the guys up in Vanda. It's 60 degrees all year up on the border there. These guys are flipping beef and lifting cows and carrying sheep from the age of 6. So and then we got obviously in Ntokozo's people who will run the taxi industry and then punch you in the face, because Zulu guys come out of the box 6'6" and warriors. They are, and I actually have a friend who's doing a bit of sort of scientific research and genetic research of the Zulu tribe, and it seems like it is genetic. The warrior gene is real, by the way. That's not just Zulu people who overinflate their egos. That's real. Her research hopefully is coming up in the next 10 years, but. So we just have oaks, Woude. I don't know. You're Afrikaans.
I know. I am Afrikaans. And it's true. The guys are huge, even at school level. We've seen those videos and there's pictures of the youngsters playing at school level. But I mean, you can't really also take it away from the All Blacks the Maori guys are also naturally very, very big oaks. And it's natural strong. And I think that's what that's also how we need to explain it. It's naturally strong. It's not built in a gym strong. That is literally from pushing a cow or carrying the cow from here to A to B or pushing the tracker along the veld. So it's not it's naturally tracker.
How many R's in there at the end there, Woude? How many R's tracker? Jeez,
Anyway, so it's just as naturally strong oaks.
Well, that's it. And there's no translation for oaks as well.
No.
Like, we just have from Venda to Zulu to Afrikaans. Then the real genetic embarrassment in this country, I come from those two tribes. It's ridiculous. Sepedi and Xhosa. Tiny, useless, and talk a lot. Like, that is all we're useful for. So completely useless to Springbok rugby, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I come from the two most useless tribes in this country. My mother's Sepedi and my father is Xhosa.
Where does Khaleesi come from?
No, there must be a mix. There must be something there. I don't really want to get into him. There must be. He can't be a purebred Xhosa, because Xhosa people are they just generally lawyers and talk a lot and drink a lot. So useless to South African rugby. Absolutely useless. But thank goodness we just have oaks. The Rig says, can we stop saying Richie is good because they changed the rules for him? He was good, but playing outside the rules is playing outside the rules. Woude, let me take this one first, and I think I know you'll have some takes there. Listen, you're only a criminal if you get caught in life, right? You're not a criminal. So you might go, oh my goodness, I can't believe somebody did this. But if they go to court and they're not found guilty, they're not a criminal. So don't confuse your, oh my goodness, I have a moral problem with it and it hurts my feelings with it's legal. So if he wasn't getting caught, he was playing within the rules. Now, on the boundary of the rules, yes, but within the rules. So if somebody doesn't get, sort of put away for something, fair, as the Australians say, fair dinkum. Woude, your thoughts?
No, this is very true what you're saying, but this is also, Richie McCaw didn't break the rules. He was right on that fringe of where is it breaking. That's why he was so brilliant, because he read the situations around him so well. He read the referees so well. He knew where to push it to. He knew when to step back. He knew where to be, and that's why the referees couldn't find anything against him. They couldn't blow him up, because he knew exactly how to play to what they wanted from a game and what the other players around him would do.
And look, to echo, I think Woude's making a magnificent point there. And to echo that, sometimes we forget is sport often is very much ahead of everything, and business and sport are, always ahead, and the rest of the world catches up. But in life, think of the great people in business, right? Who's always in court with big lawyers and stuff? Bill Gates, right? Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. What do? They're always on the line of, my God, they're pushing it here. We've got to have these massive court cases against them. And so that's what greatness does, right? In every sector of life, is it pushes the boundaries of the rules until the rules break. Because everything Elon Musk is doing, he wants to tunnel under California. Bureaucracy's always behind greatness. Think about it in all history. But all the heroes you look up to, the computer you're using, you think of what, if you go and read the story of Apple, Steve Jobs, an absolute menace for US law. Wozniacki, some of the stuff that he was doing with building, there was some of the stuff is, you go and read it by today's standards, it has aged badly. So we shouldn't get, in terms of greatness, for me, I love the people that make the law break. And Woude, you're a biokineticist. In order to build bigger muscle, what has to happen? What is the process? And better quality muscle, what's the process?
Yeah, no, so you need to push the muscle up into that point where your fibers actually tear a little bit, so that you get that inflammation and you get all of that in there, so that the muscles, when they grow back together, they're actually stronger than they were before. So you need to break that. But again, and I know this is maybe not a good comparison to that, but even if you look at steroid use in the sporting world, they are also ahead of the actual lawmakers. This is the reason why they keep getting new drugs, and the law has to catch up to that every single time. So they're always one step ahead. They're always one step better than the referees that need to catch them.
100%. No, Woude, you've nailed it. There we go. So I think the bottom line is bureaucracy needs to get better at being proactive rather than reactive across the board. Yeah. What do we always say? Sport is a microcosm of society, right? Even in society, the gangsters are better at their job. Or my momsy. No. My mom doesn't say that. She says a lot of stuff, but not that. Well, maybe she does say that. She has worked with a lot of criminals across the world. She has had to, she really has had to negotiate. I've got some interesting stories about her negotiating with some of the mafia in Mexico and in Uganda. So she has spoken to me about that. Gangsters are great at business. They're better than police people are at catching them. So, Woude, I think you're 100% right. I think Woude is 100% right with what you've said about the lawmakers there. Great point, Woude Muller. Hey, Woude, we've got one more question. It's been great having you on today. We're going to wrap it up with one more. To you at home, thank you so much, guys. Let's see what this last question is. Jesse Randallhoff says, I told you Bayern are going to win the Champions League. What happened to all the English teams this year? They all flopped, even in the Europa League. Jesse, I cannot argue for for his time. Listen, he's had the comment of the week twice in a row. That may be another contender. This might be a three-peat, legendary stuff. Jesse, I can't argue with that. I think you've made great points. Bayern, you're looking at PSG now. you've made great points. What has happened to all the Premier League teams? And I think, let's be fair, the Premier League is, and I see a lot of people getting caught up with this. I think I'll speak a little bit about it tomorrow, let's make no mistake, the Premier League is still the best league. The Premier League is still the best league. Let's stop saying the French league isn't a farmers league. The Bundesliga is respectable, but stop it. There's a reason why the English teams have struggled, and it's because the Premier League is hard. But it's no excuse. They've got lots of money. And Jesse Randlehoff, I'm not even going to take this one from you. Definitely, you got me stumped, and it's the comment of the day. It's an absolutely great comment. It is a brilliant comment. Absolutely stunning. Jesse Randlehoff, what a guy. All right, Woude. Well, for today, that has been it. So we will see you again when we see you again.
Yes.
Great having you in, by the way. And
it's
to you
nice
at home, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. No, great to have you. I thought, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the team develops. I mean, just listening to that Springbok back row, we sometimes forget because we love the Springbok so much, we sometimes forget just what animals we've got. Juan Smith. Who is it again? Just remind me of that loose trio.
So 6 was Schalk Burger, 7 is Johan Smith, and our 8 was Dwayne Vermeulen.
I mean, what is that? 400 kilograms of human meat? There's 400 kilograms of this good Boer stock. Lekker manna. Yeah, come on. Let's go. Listen, any topics and things like that you want to get to us, send us your videos, by the way. Your opinions. I'd love to hear your opinions. Football, cricket, it's NBA. Send us your videos. We'll definitely play it. We want to be interactive, right? It's the 21st century. It's 2020. Let's get those videos in. sport@cliffcentral.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere tonight. You chose to be with myself and Woude Muller, the Big Shot Media, Cliff Central. And we've had a great time. Woude, great stuff in the skip pass. From me, MKT, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a different ballgame.